Hi, it's Mark from Top Local. We're here with Bernie Pawlik, Pawlik Automotive, Vancouver's best auto service experience, 17-time winners. Just won another award, as voted by their customers, winners of best auto repair in Vancouver. How you doing, Bernie?
Doing really well.
So we're going to talk about a Dodge Ram 3500 2005. You had to rebuild the Cummins Turbo Diesel on this vehicle. Why was that?
Well, the engine, a couple of issues. The engine was leaking some oil on the ground. It was coming out of the breather tube. This thing, believe it or not, actually has a breather tube that the crankcase, the blow-by gases actually go out onto the road, which is surprising because for a modern diesel, they abandon those in cars about in the mid-60s because they're so toxic. But I guess diesels are theoretically not so bad. But anyways, this has a road draft tube. There was some oil dripping out of there. There's a bit of smoke coming out of there, and the exhaust was just extremely smoky. Now we had replaced fuel injectors a while ago in this vehicle because they were old and worn out. It was like 220,000 kilometers, kind of the age to replace them. But the smoke persisted. In fact, according to the owner, it was even a little worse. And I would attribute that to the fact that the injectors were not actually delivering enough fuel to the engine, and now with the proper amount of fuel being delivered, the engine was actually smoking worse, which is unfortunate.
So what test did you do to get to the bottom of this?
So we figured there must have been a cylinder problem because the other issue is that the engine was running a bit rough. When it was hot, the smoke pretty much went away and the engine ran quite smoothly. But when it was cold to cool, there was a distinct roughness, like a misfire in the engine. So there's some interesting tests we can do, and I'll share a photo here. One of our pretty cool tests. What you're looking at here, this is actually on a lab scope that we have, and it's a waveform of the starter draw of the engine. So the starter motor turns the engine over, and there's 6 cylinders in the engine, and every time it comes to a compression stroke, there's an extra draw of power because it takes extra energy to push the for the starter motor to push the engine through that cycle. So if you look here, you can see 1 hump, 2 humps, 3 humps, 4 humps, 5, and then where number 6 is supposed to be, it's flat. That basically indicates that one cylinder is really doing nothing. Now, if everything was perfect, they should all be 6 nice even humps. But again, there's one missing here. So that is that's what was going on with that. So that was the first test we did. So we determined that one cylinder is bad in compression. From there, we did a compression test of the engine. Now, this is a really involved job. Most diesels, it takes a lot of work to do a compression test. In the case of this one, we had to remove all the fuel injectors to install a compression tester. And what we found was number 1 cylinder had about 50 pounds compression, which is extremely low. And all the others had 450, which is really healthy, which explains, again, why the engine ran like a 5-cylinder. So from there, we did a leak down test. In a leak down test, we blow air into the cylinder, number 1 cylinder that had the bad compression. And with the cylinder at top dead center, we can determine, is it a valve problem, is it a piston ring or a piston problem? And they're all by the amount of air escaping. There was a lot of air escaping. It was all going down to the piston rings through the piston. So we knew we had to remove the head and investigate further. So the problem was basically a piston ring problem, not a valve problem.
So that sounds pretty severe. What else was damaged? Was there anything else damaged?
Really, when we took the engine out, we took it apart. Basically, what we found is that when we took number 1 cylinder piston out, there's 2 compression rings on the engine, on the piston, and they were both broken. They're actually broken to pieces. Like they all came out in about 8 different pieces. And the other cylinders we took out, 2 of them had broken top compression rings. So even though the compression was good, they were definitely on their way out. Also, the cylinder wall had some pretty bad damage, especially number 1 cylinder, because of broken rings. It causes a strange wear pattern in the cylinder. So it required reboring the cylinder, basically reboring the engine block and fitting it with new pistons. I can share some photos. We've got lots of interesting things to look at here. So let's have a look at some pictures. So here's you can see this okay, Mark?
Yep.
So we're looking at, this is the piston from number 1 cylinder. Right here, that's where the number 1 piston, the top compression ring sits. And this is where the lower compression ring sits. This bottom ring is the oil control ring, which just basically prevents too much oil from wipes the oil off the cylinder so you don't get a lot of oil burning. But basically, these rings are both broken. You can see a lot of black carbon deposits along here. I mean, this shouldn't look like this. One of the cylinders that wasn't, it had good rings. There was very little carbon deposit, and certainly none. It's okay to have it above here because that's normal, but anything below that is, you know, abnormal. So that's this is our bad piston. A few other pictures of the engine just to go over some stuff. These are the timing gears. So this is the crankshaft gear, the camshaft gear, the gear that drives the high pressure fuel pump, and then the engine oil pump gears. Really heavy duty stuff. I mean, these are straight cuts, just really solid big gears. It's, you know, it's a Cummins diesel. This is what you kind of expect from this engine. This stuff is kind of bulletproof. It's not much can go wrong with it. A couple other interesting things. Here's our new piston with the rings in place. You can see how clean and shiny it is. There's the upper ring, the lower ring, and the oil control ring. And what else have we got to look at here that's interesting? Oh, the other thing interesting on these engines, the connecting rods. They use it's a fractured connecting rod. Instead of cutting these nice and smooth, when they make the connecting rod, it's a big round circle basically. And it bolts together. Instead of cutting it and machining it, they actually have a tool and way of actually stress fracturing and cracking it, and makes for a very precise fit and very solid structure. So it's commonly used in a lot of engines nowadays, especially if it's diesel. If you look at it, you see the ripply line there. It can only ever be fitted one way. You can never mix them up. So yeah, so that's basically a few photos from the engine. Just gonna get out of here so I can see myself again.
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah, good. I'm back.
So did you do any other engine repairs?
Basically, all the bearings were in pretty good shape, and the connecting rod and the main bearings were in good shape. But we replaced them anyways because while you're in there, you got to take them all out anyways. It's not a lot of extra. It's an extra couple $100 to make sure that nothing's going to wear in the future. But yeah, everything in that was in good shape. So basically, the block was bored with new pistons. The other thing we did was we had the cylinder head redone. What can happen on these engines is the valve seats can suddenly drop out of the valves, which causes the valve to jam open, and the piston can hit the valve and cause catastrophic engine damage. So we've never seen that happen, but apparently it's somewhat common. So we had the head done at the same time. Even though technically we could have bolted the head back on, the engine would run fine, but you just never know when that failure might occur. So it makes sense to do it now.
Sure, renew the whole motor.
Sorry?
Renew the whole engine.
Yeah, basically it's a complete engine rebuild. The camshaft is in great shape. The tappets, those are other things that can cause, that can wear rocker arms. Those are all in fantastic shape. So with the new injectors, and this will be basically a brand new engine.
So we haven't talked about engine repairs on these trucks very much. People have the impression they're bulletproof.
Yeah, we've rarely done any engine work on these engines. I mean, there's really not a lot that goes wrong with them. They are really well built, and I'm not really sure what happened with this engine, why it occurred like this. The owner's very big on maintenance. It's not like it's chipped or any high performance modifications. I mean, those kind of things can shorten the life of a diesel pretty quickly when you over boost the turbo or hauling super heavy loads up a hill. I mean, we see someone who burnt the pistons from trying to fly up a hill with a heavy trailer on the back and over boosting the turbo. So you got to be careful with it. But if with good maintenance, it's kind of surprising. I mean, they're generally bulletproof, but like anything, they do have their problems.
Any guesses why it failed?
Not really. Really not certain. And it could be that the owner wasn't the original owner, so it could be that the previous owner, in its early days, may not have maintained the truck as well as they should have. They may not have changed the oil often enough, and that caused enough wear in the engine early on that contributed to damage. It's hard to say. And sometimes, it's like human health. I mean, you can do all the right things. You can eat the good food. You can exercise properly. You can still drop dead of a heart attack at 40. Other people will live a crappy life and live to 100. And same with cars. I mean, you get some where people maintain them badly, they last forever, and others where you just miss a couple oil changes and it takes a good engine out, or even it's maintained well and something happens anyway. So
If you're looking for service for your diesel in Vancouver, diesel car or truck, these are the guys to go see. Pawlik Automotive in Vancouver. They're 17 times voted best auto repair in Vancouver. Give them a call, 604-327-7112. You have to book ahead. They're always busy. Or check out their website, pawlikautomotive.com.
Thanks, Mark.